All seems to be going to plan. Mr. Elton, Highbury's handsome young vicar, almost fell over himself to go to London to have Harriet's portrait framed. Obviously, he's head over heels in love with Harriet, and Emma can pride herself on another match well made. But Harriet isn't out of danger yet. In fact, a crisis occurs when she comes bounding into Hartfield carrying a letter from Robert Martin. It's a proposal of marriage, and Harriet is buzzing with excitement. Oh dear, Emma thought Harriet was over that lowly farmer. Unfortunately, it's an excellent letter, and Harriet is thoroughly flattered by it. This will take some expert guidance from the older, wiser Emma. She insists on not wanting to influence her protégée. The response must be in Harriet's own words. Emma only advises Harriet to answer Mr. Martin directly and let him down gently. There's no doubt about refusing him, is there? Harriet is disappointed, but still quibbling over what she should do. This tiny bit of doubt is all Emma needs to manipulate her naive young friend. She advises Harriet that if she feels doubt, she should refuse Mr. Martin. Then again, if she thinks Mr. Martin is positively the best man she's ever met, then she should accept him. Harriet then decides, very hesitantly, that she'll refuse Mr. Martin. Emma takes it as Harriet's final decision and is relieved that they can stay friends. After all, Harriet can't expect Emma to stay friends with her if she marries into such vulgar society. Oh no, Emma would have to delete and block Harriet altogether. This scares Harriet, and she's relieved that Emma has helped her escape such a miserable fate. Hey team, just a reminder, if you like this video, please hit the subscribe button and ring the notification bell. It really helps the channel out, and our next upload could be on something taught in your next class. Thanks, and back to the video. Emma then helps Harriet to compose her letter of refusal and sends it on Harriet's behalf. Done and dusted. But as the day wears on, Harriet becomes despondent as she thinks about Abbey Mill Farm and how much she likes the Martins. Emma assures her she's made the right decision and distracts her with cheerful thoughts about Mr. Elton. The following day, Mr. Knightley pays Emma a visit. He compliments Emma on the way she has improved Harriet and made her more mature. Mr. Knightley rarely pays Emma compliments, so she savours this one. He then reveals that he has some exciting news to share. His sensible and respectable tenant, Robert Martin, intends to propose marriage to Harriet. The young man sought Mr. Knightley's advice, seemed very much in love, and proved that he could afford to support a wife. So Mr. Knightley approved the match and encouraged Mr. Martin to propose. When Emma breaks the news that Harriet has already refused Mr. Martin, Mr. Knightley sees red. He can't believe it. Is Harriet a fool? Emma, what have you done? An epic quarrel ensues. Emma remains calm and confident that refusing Mr. Martin was the best thing Harriet could have done, while Mr. Knightley berates her for meddling and ruining Harriet's chances of happiness and security, not to mention breaking the heart of a very sincere young man. The fact is, Harriet Smith is the illegitimate daughter of no one knows who. She's not well educated, lives at a school, and would have been darn lucky to marry a man like Robert Martin. Emma stands her ground. How dare he presume to dictate what Harriet is entitled to? Harriet may not be a genius, but she's not silly. She's also beautiful and good-natured. And since men are really only concerned with looks, Harriet has an excellent chance of marrying whom she likes. Touché, Emma. But Mr. Knightley calls Emma out. That is not how their world works. No high-born man is likely to marry Harriet due to the scandal of her birth. And, by the way, if Emma is trying to set up Harriet and Mr. Elton, get ready for disappointment. Mr. Elton has his sights set on a high-born girl. Emma lies and denies her matchmaking plans. So, Mr. Knightley leaves in a huff. Emma hates arguing with Mr. Knightley and briefly worries he might be right. But she quickly gets over it. What does he know anyway? She's seen how Mr. Elton behaves, and it's obvious that he's in love with Harriet. Eager to prove Mr. Knightley wrong, Emma concocts a new scheme to draw out Mr. Elton's declaration of love for Harriet. Riddles. Emma and Harriet embark on a project of collecting riddles and transcribing them into a pretty little book. Emma's father thinks this is great fun and wants to contribute. But really, Emma is only interested in asking for Mr. Elton's help. What better way for him to safely declare his love than through the subtle, clever wording of a riddle? At first, Mr. Elton seems reluctant. But then he delivers a riddle on behalf of a friend, wink wink, that doesn't disappoint. Poor Harriet can't understand it at all, but Emma deciphers it straight away. It's about courtship. Ha ha! Take that, Knightley. Emma congratulates Harriet on receiving absolute proof that Mr. Elton is in love with her and will soon propose. Of course, Harriet is over the moon. Although she can hardly believe that a man like Mr. Elton could be in love with her. It's too good to be true. But Emma assures her it's on. But how should Harriet respond to Mr. Elton? Not to worry, Emma will take it from here. When Mr. Elton returns to Hartfield later that day, Emma generously compliments his friend's riddle. It's been much admired and lovingly transcribed into Miss Smith's collection. In fact, he should deliver more messages of that nature. With this, Mr. Elton leaves a very happy man. Now it's just a matter of finding the right moment for Mr. Elton to make an open declaration. A short time later, in mid-December, the opportunity presents itself. After making a charitable visit to a poor family in the area, Emma and Harriet walk back towards town via Mr. Elton's house. As if, having read their minds, Mr. Elton appears on the path to greet them. Emma falls behind and lets the two lovers walk ahead so they can chat privately. But all they do is talk about food. Obviously, they need more time alone. So Emma contrives a reason for them to enter Mr. Elton's house. She rips off her shoelace, throws it in a ditch, and asks Mr. Elton if they can pop in for a bit of ribbon or string. Mr. Elton is pleased to be of service. Once inside, Emma enters a separate room and chats with the housekeeper while she mends Emma's shoe. This gives Mr. Elton 10 whole minutes alone with Harriet in the front room. Surely he'll propose. But when Emma joins them, nothing has happened except polite conversation. He's obviously just being cautious. Never mind, he'll work up to it. Any day now. Emma decides to leave Mr. Elton to it. You can lead a horse to water, as they say. Besides, Emma's energies are now redirected towards her sister, Isabella, her 5 children, and her husband, Mr. John Knightley. They've come all the way from London to visit for Christmas. It's a busy, noisy time at Hartfield, and Emma does her best to manage the nervous temperaments of her father and sister. They really are quite similar in the way they fuss and worry about everything. Emma also keeps an eye on the stern temper of Mr. John Knightley. He's not a nasty man, but he's not a very patient one either. He has a tendency, in certain moods, to snap at Isabella and be a bit disrespectful to Mr. Woodhouse. Holiday periods can be tricky for everyone, and Emma is determined to keep the peace. Isabella's arrival presents the perfect opportunity to invite Mr. George Knightley to dinner. After all, his brother John is married to her sister, and they have 5 nieces and nephews in common. But this is more than just a family courtesy. Emma is keen to make up with Mr. Knightley after their recent quarrel over Harriet. When Mr. Knightley arrives, Emma wants to appear approachable. So she makes sure she's cuddling her youngest niece, little Emma, when he walks into the room. He's a bit stern at first, but soon softens and gently lifts the baby out of Emma's arms. They're keen to be friends again, but it's a stubborn reconciliation. Mr. Knightley reminds Emma that he's older and wiser, while Emma reminds him that she's yet to be proven wrong. The only unfortunate casualty so far has been Mr. Martin's shattered heart. Apart from that, there's no reason why they can't shake hands and put it all behind them. It's a cosy scene at the Hartfield residence, but the peace is fragile. Mr. Woodhouse and Isabella start fussing over everyone's health and bickering about whether the Knightleys' recent seaside holiday was a good idea. Sensing this could aggravate Mr. John Knightley, Emma tries to steer the conversation towards safer topics. But this only works temporarily because Isabella and Mr. Woodhouse can't help themselves. Isabella's anxiety over her husband's health, even though he's perfectly fine, elicits a gruff response from him. So Emma changes the subject again. She's even willing to talk about her rival, Jane Fairfax. She's Miss Bates's beautiful, well-educated, highly accomplished niece. And Emma is sick of hearing her name. But talking about Jane Fairfax is better than a family upset. It doesn't work. Mr. Woodhouse starts whinging again about the seaside holiday, which provokes a minor outburst from Mr. John Knightley. Thankfully, Mr. George Knightley, cool as anything, steps in and re-engages his younger brother about their family estate. This heroic manoeuvre saves the evening from falling apart. Thank goodness Emma has someone she can rely on. But will she trust Mr. Knightley's judgment when it comes to more important things, like matters of the heart? We hope you enjoyed this Schooling Online production. For more easy lessons, check out our other videos.